Hello everyone, my name is Armando Bárcenas and I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to actually set up your application of Adobe Photoshop Elements. We're going to start right from the scratch. In other words, we're going to set up the preferences so that the program will behave the way we want it to. Okay, so we're going to press Command or Control K on our keyboards, and now it comes with preferences. Preferences are found, if you're using a Mac like myself, under the main subject of the software up here at the top left hand corner. If you're using Windows, you will find it on File. So what is all this about? Well, all these sections here are we are going to set up so that the program runs the way a photographer expects it to work, okay? Or like your darkroom, all right? So I have prepared 5 different videos, and these videos are going to take you step by step on how to develop, for example, a JPEG, a RAW file, and how to create custom brushes. Now, a custom brush that I'm going to show you to create is one that you're going to use a lot, and that is the one with your signature and copyright symbol. Okay, so we are going to look and have fun from here onwards. So let me explain what is all this about. Now, the color picker is very important because the color picker basically sets the white balance in our images, okay? So it is wise to use Adobe and not Apple, because many people that starts with this type of softwares, they kind of never calibrated their screens or their computers. So it's very important that you calibrate your screen and choose a color consortium or a color range, should we say, such as sRGB or Adobe RGB 1998. Well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is the range of colors, okay? The biggest range belongs to Adobe RGB 1998, and the likes of sRGB, it was created in 1996. So basically, in a nutshell, it doesn't matter which one you use, but what does matter is that everything that you are using has to be in the same color range, okay? So your camera has to be set up to run on sRGB or Adobe RGB, okay? So should be your screen should be at the same, okay? Your printer should run in the same color, okay, range. And a scanner, if you have a scanner or use a scanner, they all have to be in exactly the same range of colors, okay? Otherwise, the picture that you're looking at and the picture you take with your camera, when you bring your photograph into the computer, it's going to look totally different. And when you print it, it's totally going to be different, okay? So it's very important that you set up your color picker to the right way, okay? Next, we have step back, step forward. These are commands that are global. Global meaning it belongs to every software that you have, platform, Windows, Linux, or whatever, they're the same. Okay, so we don't worry about that. What I want you to do is to look at this and check all the boxes that I have checked here. This will basically set up the general area of Adobe Photoshop Elements. Okay, the likes of disabling the smart object is not a good idea. Neither is the zooming with the scroll wheel, because, well, the scroll wheel, you're going to be using it for scrolling, and it will be a pain. It is a pain, actually, if your mouse control is not one of these fancy mices that allows you to program each of the buttons on it, okay? So it's best to leave it out, and the scroll wheel is for scrolling and not for zooming. Okay, these ones here you don't touch, or you can press them and find out what they do if you want to, but I won't bother with that, not at this stage. So we move next to saving files. How do we want the files to be saved, and how we want Adobe Photoshop to tell us, to remind us to save a particular file that we're working with, okay? It says here, on the first saved, always ask. Yes, always ask, all right? Most of the time, this is save if original. No, always ask, okay? Because sometimes we get so passionate about the work that we're doing that we forget if we're working in the original file or in a copy of a file, okay? So it's best to know to ask so that it reminds us to save it in a different format, okay? Or give it a different name. Image previews, by all means, you always want to save an image of the file that you're working, unless you have one of these fantastic brains that by just reading a particular serial number, you will know exactly what's in that image and what it looks like. Otherwise, yeah, you better save that and save a thumbnail for it as well. File extensions, well, in my 30 plus years experience in computing, I have come across of different applications that are not so keen on capital case being used in extensions. So you're always best to use lowercase. Save as to an original folder. Yes, always. Okay. When you go to File, Save As, it's going to ask you where, as well as giving and changing the name. So that's a good thing to remember. Ignore camera data or EXIF profiles. Never. Okay, so don't take that. You will need that at a later date, and in one of my videos I'm going to show you why you need this. Okay, maximize PSD or Photoshop digital files compatibility always, because this may be the starting point of the program that you're going to use to edit and organize your photographs. Okay, but it's gonna come a time where you're going to say, I need more. So you want to take another step into a more advanced software, such as perhaps Adobe Photoshop Professional. Okay, that one could break the bank, but hey, you know, each thing at their own time. So yes, you want to always select that. Recent file list contains 5 files. That's plenty, really. I know that when you install the software, it will say 20, but in reality, that is plenty. 5 files is fine. All right. Next, we have performance. In other words, memory, random access memory. Now, it's called random access because it randomly access the memory of various disks. If you have internal hard drives and all that, it will access that amount of information, or should I say memory, to run the program, to run the computer, etc., etc. So never be tempted to give the program more than 70%, okay? Any more than that and your computer will actually struggle, okay? Because it needs memory to run every other application and also the platform that you're actually running from, especially if you are on a Windows PC, IBM compatible PC, okay? So also, it says here, use the graphic processor for adjusting facial features. If you're going to be doing a lot of portraiture photography and maybe adjusting this and that, it is a good idea to know or to find out if your computer has a separate video card in the motherboard. Many computers today are cheaper because everything is on board. So there isn't a separate video card. So if you're going to go into graphics and photography, you really want to invest on a computer that has a separate graphic card. Okay, that means the graphic card will have its own memory. All right, and it's not going to be so dependent on the computer's general computer memory. Okay. Next, we have history and catch. Catch is fine at 6. Up here, I believe it came out with 50. We don't need that. 20 is plenty. Okay. So we're gonna go to next. And as I was talking about scratch disk, I have 3 disks attached in this computer. Well, I have more actually, but at the moment I only have this extra 2. So basically, it takes randomly access the memory from these hard drives to give it a boost. Okay, so we go into next. Now this is very important because when we get to work, I don't know what branch of the many branches of Adobe Photoshop you are going to take with your photography, whether you're going to be like myself. I repair all heirloom photographs and bringing back to life all these cracked ones or ripped and part missing. For me, it's very enjoyable and I love it. So this is very important, okay? The size of the brush that you're using and the precise point of what or where the color is coming from. So you're going to need the full size of brush, and also you want to see the crosshair in that brush, okay? Likewise, in the cursors, on the standard cursor or the like of the picker, you need precision because there are so many different shades of color that you're going to need for that, okay? So precise, full size, crosshair, and when you're cropping, you need to know how much of the picture you are letting out. So over here, you can choose any color you wish. I like black at 70% transparency. So what is shadowed in black basically is what I'm cutting out of the image. Okay, so we got next. And then here is when you are actually stuck to that screen, and I tend to use green because it's easier in the eye. But you have a choice of all these different settings and different colors that you may want. It is ideal if the person is colorblind or for a particular color, then you can set it up accordingly. Okay, medium is great. That is good enough for working in the canvases. Okay, got next, and then we have units and rulers. Well, it depends if you're an older generation coming into Adobe Photoshop Elements and you work best with inches or centimeters, millimeters, picas, and so on. You can set up whatever you wish there. Otherwise, you don't need to change anything, okay? Printing resolution, the minimum today is 300 dpi or pixels per square inch. The more pixels are in the inch, the smoother and sharper color you're going to find on an image, okay? If you're going to expose the image on a screen, you only need 72 dpi as a minimum, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be the same as 300, okay? The only thing it will make the image really, really heavy in memory, okay? So we go next, and we have guides and grids. The guides are usually red, and you want a solid line because it's easier to see. And the colors, well, you know, you have a choice of colors to choose from, okay? The same is for the grid. The grid, you're very randomly going to use it. It mainly comes into play when you're actually cropping. So that color is fine, 1 inch and subdivisions of 4. So that's great. So we move on to plugins. Plugins are a third-party application software that is added to Photoshop to create special effects or speed up work. that you want to do, or it's a particular job that is repetitive, then you will find lots of plugins, or people call it presets, etc., etc. Okay, so that, but we'll cross this bridge when we come to it. Okay, so Adobe Partner Services, it says automatically change for services. I would just leave that as is. Really, we don't need to actually bother with that. Next, we have application updates. If you're working on a computer IBM compatible with Microsoft, Windows, and so on, and even for Mac or anybody really, I don't recommend that automatically download and install the updates. This is how viruses get into your computer, okay? So you're best knowing what's coming in and what are you installing into your computer. So notify me when an update is available. That is the best option, so that you're in total control of your computer. Okay, so we go into the next one, and that is type or fonts. Okay, so we're going to use smart quotes by all means. Show Asian text, unless you speak Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, and all these other types of alphabets, you don't need to take that at all. Okay, all the other ones, by all means, you want to be able to see the sample of the font and select from small to large. Huge is, well, too big. Large is great. Okay, last but not least is your country or region where you're from. Okay, now this is just as important as everything else up here, especially when it comes to the color picker, because the color picker is the white balance on your images. Now, I live in Scotland, and Scotland is renowned for being grey. We don't see the sun very often, but hey, sometimes it's sunny, but it's not as sunny as California or Spain. So if I choose another country other than United Kingdom, it will be very hard to actually adjust the images to how the camera is actually taking it. So just put where you're from, or where you are actually working from. Okay, so that is essential for the rest. Okay, so, and that's it. That is the preferences set. All you have to do now is click OK and quit Adobe Photoshop Elements and restart again. Now, in our next video is going to be exploring the expert mode and work area in Adobe Photoshop Elements. I'll see you then.